Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Dean Quick, and I'm the board certified music therapist for Levine Cancer Institute, and this is Music Therapy for Self-Care. Today is Thursday, which means we are going through a song discussion today, and I'm very happy to have an interview for you that I did with Alison Hughey from Carolina Music Therapy, and then also Compose Your Self-Care, which is a music-based blog and art. It's a blog that she has going on that's just full of creativity, and all of the details for how you can get in touch with her and follow all the great things that she's doing is in the description of this video. So I hope you will go follow her on all social media. She posts some really great things all the time. She and I talked about music and coping with COVID, and she shared an original song with us, which I'll have the lyrics for as she's singing it. Just a reminder, this goes live every day at 10 a.m. And, not every day, every weekday, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays are relaxation. Tuesdays and Thursdays are song discussion with some interviews sprinkled in there. So without any other further delay, here's my interview with Alison Hughey from Carolina Music Therapy. Hey, good morning, everybody. Today, Music Therapy for Self-Care, I have with me Alison Hughey. She's a board-certified music therapist in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and she's going to share some original music with us today, and we're going to talk a little bit about music and COVID and some of the great things that she's doing. So I'm going to turn it over to her so she can tell you a little bit more about herself.
Good morning, and thanks for having me on, Dean. I'm really excited to see what you're doing with this channel, and especially hearing the story of how it's grown out of your work with Levine Cancer Center. I think it's wonderful that we can find ways like YouTube to stay connected and provide music in therapeutic ways, even if we're not able to see people face to face in person. I've been a board certified music therapist for 10 years now. I just celebrated my anniversary during this quarantine time.
All right.
And I've continued learning every year, but especially this year, and really delving into approaches with using Zoom for music therapy groups and getting creative with approaches and being able to connect with my clients. I have a private practice, music therapy. Carolina Music Therapy is my private practice, and based in Spartanburg, South Carolina. I serve the upstate area and primarily focus on serving older adults with dementia. I do also serve the St. Francis Cancer Center outpatient program in Greenville, South Carolina, and offer some adapted lessons on piano, and do lots of music outside of that, play flute and ukulele, and really use music for my self-care. So with that in mind, I started kind of blogging and writing on music and self-care last summer, and started Compose Your Self-Care as a platform for that on Instagram and Facebook, and a blog online with I'm on the List Press, which is kind of like a e-zine. So I'm really passionate about how we all can use music to impact our lives for the better and connect with one another. And I think that's especially important right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how has it been connecting with your older adults in a digital way?
They responded very well for the most part with connecting um, with Zoom, and I was really kind of uncertain as to how it would be received. My first group that I did was with a more advanced stage dementia group. So I really, have to say I wasn't very optimistic as to how it would go, but they very quickly engaged and responded. And I think part of that is I developed that therapeutic rapport with these people and knew their names, and I could say, oh, hey, Betsy, I see you over there in your blue sweater, whatever. So they were able to realize that the person in the TV could see them, and
Yeah.
and that they could hear them,
It's
so
it's not
it's kind
just a
of
TV
weird,
show.
but yeah, it's not just a TV show. And that was kind of my concern, was like, I want to make sure this is interactive. But they picked up really well. Of course, it's very frustrating that making music at the same time with a delay is
Mm-hmm.
not the best situation. But
Yeah.
I've gotten creative and finding ways of turn taking and things like that
Yeah.
to make music together apart. Um, and I also had a new community I started with last week on Zoom, in which one of the residents had visited with family over Zoom earlier that
Yeah.
day. And so she immediately, wheeled herself over closer to the computer and, realized what was going on.
Yeah.
So
So you picked
there's
up
that skill transfer.
a new facility during all of this.
I had already been serving the community, but I
Gotcha.
just added them on Zoom. So I transferred them over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that that piece of all this is where it's going to change private practice and music therapy in the long run is, I don't think telehealth services are going to be a backup anymore. I think practices are going to be offering it as a way, like, just it's integrated into the program. This is just another part of the services that we provide. And some of the
Mm-hmm.
ways that I'm thinking about what I'm doing at Levine is, I'm not always available for evening groups, but I could be,
Mm-hmm.
via Zoom. It's harder for me to be there in person sometimes for evening groups, but I could host evening groups remotely. And I imagine, that might be the case for other music therapists, or even connecting with folks who are under certain contact precautions where maybe you couldn't bring
Mm-hmm.
in the instruments you would want to bring in person, but you could connect with that person maybe even right outside of their room or from your office, just so that they're
Mm-hmm.
still getting the service. So I love that flexibility, and I'm glad to see that you're right in there. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So um, I'd love to hear more about. Well, one, I really enjoyed your ukulele song a day that you
Thank
did,
you.
and I never touched base with you about how was it getting to that last day, that 365. How was it finishing the book? Was it everything you thought it would be?
Yes, it was very much like crossing the finish line. It was super rewarding. It, the book, The Daily Ukulele, that I used has a great mix of songs, but then toward the end of the book, there's a section for holidays, and then there's a section for children's songs at the very end. So it was kind of anticlimactic because a lot of the songs at the very end were kind of boring for me.
Yeah.
They're like super simplistic and that kind of thing. But um, I pretty much kept up every day. There were a few days that I missed, and I would catch up, like do two the next day or whatever.
Yeah. Right.
But somewhere along the lines, I misnumbered something.
Mm.
And so on my very last day, on my very last song, it wasn't 365. I think it was like 363, or I don't know, 366. I can't, it wasn't 366, but yeah, it was really goofy. I was like, did this big year long project, and like, I screwed up a number somewhere, but numbers are not my strong suits.
Yeah, but your ukulele chops probably
Yeah.
by the end of it were a lot tighter, right?
Oh yeah, it's interesting because I would occasionally use ukulele in the past, but only with certain keys or certain songs
Mm-hmm.
because my chord vocabulary wasn't as big with ukulele as guitar. But now that's flipped, so
Oh.
I'm more adept at picking up a song and playing on ukulele. Like, oh yeah, I know all these chords.
Yeah.
So I feel like now I need to do more with guitar, but um, the the simply recording and sharing a song each day and learning, like being more adept at reading a new song and sight
Mm-hmm.
reading and learning more quickly was a big growth process for me. I was always more hesitant to share music and share myself singing and playing
Mm-hmm.
in video format, and had a lot of hangups about that. So that's been really helpful for me in that
Sure.
process as well.
Sure. So
Yeah.
how are you talking about music with folks? Like I know you have your Compose Your Self Care blog and lettering, and yeah, that seems to be really multifaceted where you could reach a lot of different folks. Have you noticed a shift in your audience with that in the midst of all this?
I don't know if I've really noticed as much of a shift in the audience as maybe more people engaging.
Mm, mm,
So I'd seen a quote recently shared a few weeks ago about how important the arts are at this time more than ever, and realizing that most of us are looking to music, looking to Netflix or movies or
mm-hmm.
books or combinations of those things, and
Yeah.
reconnecting with our creative pursuits to get through this time
Mm-hmm.
and
And
cope.
memes.
So yeah, and memes, of course, and sense of humor,
Those are
being able to
creative.
laugh at things. Yeah. So, yeah, that my lettering actually grew out of another kind of project challenge, which is the 100-day project
Mm-hmm.
last year, which began, I believe, right before the regional conference for American Music Therapy
Yeah.
Association last year.
And it was
And
I think I remember seeing you started with, pen and paper and markers and
yeah,
everything, and now it's moved digital, right? Like you're using digital
yeah.
art for it.
So
That's
I'd
awesome.
always enjoyed visual creativity and love quotes and really kind of filling my brain with positive words and content is something I
Mm-hmm.
realized I need. So I started journaling and using pen and paper to doodle those quotes, and then I got an Apple Pencil last year at Christmas
Cool.
and started using Procreate and really love using that platform.
Love
So
that.
it's kind of a intermingling my curiosities of music and self-care, music and
Mm-hmm.
wellness, and also the visual creativity component, and kind of mixing those together and having fun with it.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. So, tell me about the song that you're going to share today. I want to know the name of it, kind of what's behind it. Give us a little bit, and then will you share the song with us?
Sure thing.
All right.
So the first week that things really started to shift here where I live in Spartanburg, South Carolina, was the week of St. Patrick's Day. It was like maybe the Thursday or Friday prior to that. I started hearing a lot more about positive cases and precautions and long-term care communities not allowing visitors, that sort of thing, and had a giant wave of anxiety over it, and um, decided to kind of look toward positive quotes and look toward songs that I love that help me feel a sense of calm and hope and optimism. And this melody started, kind of coming to me for the chorus, just popped into my head, and started playing with it and wrote a song about it. So the name of this is "Everything's Gonna Be All Right," which of course is inspired by Three Little Birds. Everything's gonna be alright. Gonna be alright. This rain that I see after the dark will come to light. Gonna be alright. Three little birds came by and sang a song for you. Then joined in the neighbors dancing in the trees. The world is singing all around us without you. I pray that I may also be an instrument of peace. after the dark will come the light. It'll be alright. My mind is wandering to worry and wondering when I'm stuck in worry. I'll lost yours, I'll do. Those things I worry about never happen anyway. Just out of you, I guess, taking day by day. Every it'll be alright. It'll be alright. Just wait and see. It'll be alright. It'll be alright. We cannot change what direction it's going, but we can adjust ourselves instead of being sad. Gotta keep hope alive, staying on the sunny side, 'cause everything's gonna be alright. Victory's lies and bringing us forward when clouds start rolling in. Take a deep breath, don't hold it all inside. Let it out and sing again. Every it'll be alright. It'll be alright. Just wait and see after the dark. Will come the light. It'll be alright. Go placidly amid noise and waves. Life is short, it's not to waste. But we also need to take time to pause. Be gentle with yourself because out of the universe you are. No less than the trees and the stars. Every it'll be alright. It'll be alright. Just wait and see after the dark will come the light. It'll be alright.
That was great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love that. That chord progression and melody, I love.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, so that just came to you, huh?
Parts of the melody and the chorus did, and
Uh-huh.
then I played with it, and strong inspiration from the songs I was listening to, some of the
Mm-hmm.
quotes I was reading. I asked some friends about some of their favorite quotes on hope and uncertainty,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of piece things together. And I have to say, songwriting is one of those things that's always intimidated the heck out of me.
Oh.
But like
Oh, you would
in
not
that
know it
moment,
from hearing the
dude,
song.
thank you. Yeah, in that moment, it was just like I felt like that's what I really needed, and
Mm-hmm.
so I went for it. And definitely, feeling like in this time of so much uncertainty and fears and things like that, that it puts our fears into perspective with
Mm-hmm.
things like fear of sharing original content or self-expression. So
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah, well, vulnerability,
yeah,
just like some of the more negative emotions that we feel is born out of fear. Vulnerability is born out of fear too, but it's all about what you take from with vulnerability and do, right? So if you take that vulnerability and lean into it and create a beautiful song like you've done, then you've squashed the fear, right? You've turned the fear
yeah,
into something else. But sometimes vulnerability can lead to like overly focusing on the self in a way that's not great, right? So then like self-consciousness comes out. It's like,
Hmm.
I don't know, so it comes from vulnerability, and it comes from, fear. Like, if you look at us from like a biological standpoint, a lot of our response to what's going on around us really does go back to like fight or flight. It goes
Hmm.
back to like fear, even those exciting emotions. um so yeah, vulnerability, like we are in a time of vulnerability, so to turn that into a song like what you've done is great. And everything else that you're doing to create too. And I love that you're empowering others to do that.
Thank you.
Sure. And just if you'll leave everybody with kind of a final thought about music, creativity, self care, it's really up to you. Could you leave us with something related to one of or all of those things?
Um, One thing that really fascinates me and just still blows my mind is that we all have access to, or most of us have access to millions, if not billions, of songs in the palm of our hand these days. If
Mm-hmm.
you're watching that's probably the case, that you can pull up whatever song, within a matter of minutes, if not seconds, and how powerful that is. And just listening to songs, listening to music, and choosing the music that we select with intention can be so profound.
Yeah. Great.
So,
Wise words. Thank you
yeah,
for that, and
enjoy the
thank you.
music.
Yeah. Yeah. Enjoy the music. Take the time,
Mhm.
right? Take the time and listen and connect. Sometimes the music chooses us, we don't choose it, and just let it breathe. Listen to it. Don't automatically hit skip, right?
Yeah, that's good
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Allison. I really appreciate your time, and I appreciate you sharing everything today. And yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dean.
Yeah.
I'm
Have a
excited
good
about what
one.
you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining in. That's it for Music Therapy for Self Care for today. I hope you will join me tomorrow at 10 a.m. for a live music relaxation. And again, thank you to Allison. I really appreciate your time and for sharing your beautiful music with us. And I hope if you're watching this that you go and follow Allison on social media. Again, the in the description below's where you can find her online. And again, thank you for joining me for Music Therapy for Self Care. I'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Have a good one.